So I had a comment on one of my YouTube videos about an agent who was worrying about the level of overwhelm he'd experience trying to learn multiple carriers at a time, and admitted that he had come from a captive background where he only worked with one. And his question was, how do I actually learn these carriers and avoid overwhelm? My name is David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents to sell things nationally like final expense, Medicare, and annuities, both face-to-face and over the phone. So the question really here is, how do you actually learn multiple insurance carriers as a new agent, assuming you're selling something like final expense, but it would also apply to annuities and Medicare, without feeling like a sense of overwhelm to the point where you start to doubt yourself and your effectiveness to sell in the field. So the first thing you have to understand, again, some straight talk, is that we're running a performance-based business. If this was easy, I assure you, everybody would be doing it. And what would happen in response to that is that our ability to make a lot of money for something seemingly as simple as selling a burial insurance plan would be a lot lower. There's a reason you're paid the big bucks to do a lot of this stuff, and part of this is to overcome a sense of overwhelm and a sense of juggling a bunch of things at once. So being overwhelmed is not an excuse not to do this business. If anything, that's more reason why. A sense of overwhelm is what all your competition is going to be thinking. It's what gives you a job, frankly. So you should embrace the fact that you're going to be overwhelmed. Now, I'm not saying be happy that you're frustrated. We don't want to actually do that. But it's important to understand, anything worth achieving in life is going to be overwhelming. And there are going to be seemingly sometimes impossible odds you have to overcome. So it's worthy of your endeavor to figure out how to crack this nut. So don't get discouraged, get excited, because this is significant, this is meaningful. And once you overcome this, the knowledge base that you'll have, it will differentiate you from your peers. And so it's a good thing. So here's the thing I train agents to understand when it comes to this sense of overwhelm, not just with carriers, but with all things in business and life, is you have to, first of all, retain focus. You've got to understand and focus on first things first. What really matters? In other words, the Pareto principle. It's a big picture thing for me, literally and figuratively. When I train agents, I think of what really matters the most and isolate our attention on those small percentage things that matter the most, and then ignore the rest as much as possible. Because in this business, it's extremely simple to get into the weeds, and it doesn't help to have, frankly, a YouTube channel like mine telling you all sorts of things and having you think all sorts of things and getting your focus distracted on what helps or what matters. So here's what I would do in this sense. So first of all, if you're in a position with multiple carriers, don't contract with all of them. This is a fool's errand. If you're contracting with any more than 5 carriers as a brand new agent, you're asking to increase your odds of failure. 5 is the absolute max. I recruit agents at 4 to 5 carriers as brand new agents. I don't like that, but our carriers that we have are really good, and I think it's worthy of having. What I try to do when I can is focus agents, even if they start with 5, to just think about 3 of those 5 that they're most likely going to write. And in the final expense business, for example, you're going to have a preferred carrier that's pretty good pricing, easy to use, that you want to put most of your business with. You're going to have a second backup carrier for the weird underwriting situations that give first day full coverage, that like standard coverage, etc. And then you're going to have a guaranteed issue carrier. That's going to be your core carrier lineup that'll account for 90% of your sales. So as a new agent, 90% of your time should be focused on those 3 carriers, because going any further than that is going to be an activity that has reduced return on your investment, diminishing returns, in other words. So focus on learning those 3 carriers. Learn the underwriting processes for each carrier, what they will accept, what they won't accept. What we help our agents with, in final expense at least, is we provide them a health underwriting cheat sheet that is process-oriented, not dependent upon you learning a bunch of minutia and facts, which it contributes to overwhelm. And so that way you can depend on a surefire process to isolate the best options out, versus trying to memorize 3 different applications with dozens and dozens of health questions that differ between each company. So thinking in a process orientation versus trying to memorize minutia when it comes to carrier training is very smart, and I think it is. And I think it leads you to be more confident and lessen the overwhelm and get more results in helping your clients. And then lastly, the other thing you have to understand for sure is know how to complete the application. All your carriers out there have really good guides to help you understand how to complete an application. Please take time to study that. And so when you're in front of the client, you can confidently get through an application, complete it, and then not worry, did I do it right, or have to go back and complete it. The good news is that, at least in the final expense world, certainly Medicare as well, is that most of our carriers are electronic app-based or verbal app-based. You cannot screw an app up unless you've just done something wrong. There's no more real problems with amendments and getting policies that were submitted issued because you forgot a signature. It's a very simplified process now, so it shouldn't be too terribly hard to do. Bottom line is to simplify the complex. This is a secret of success, if you will, is to look at the goal, the big picture, and break down the component parts and to focus on what really matters. Make it a big emphasis to do first things first. And in this case, if you're learning this business as a new agent and you've got all these carriers, pick the 3 top carriers, ask your upline what they'll be. He or she will know right off the cuff. Focus on learning those applications, their underwriting, as well as the process to get stuff approved, get your cases approved, and know how to complete an application. And hopefully your overwhelm should reduce by 50 to 75%. You will still feel overwhelmed, you'll still feel frustrated, but hopefully not as much. My name is David Duford. If you enjoyed this training, please click on the links above. If you'd like to learn more about joining my agency to sell things like final expense Medicare and annuities, both over the phone and face-to-face, subscribe if you haven't to this channel if you like this kind of training. Leave a comment, let me know some tips that you have to reduce overwhelm. And otherwise, thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.